onto this computer. Awesome. Thanks for joining, everybody. This is our community conversations, and today we're talking about camp. We have some great people here that are experienced with going to camp, talk about if camp is right for you and your family. So we'd love for you to sit back, enjoy this, and I'm going to hand it over to Julia to introduce herself and tell you something that she's proud of that she's accomplished in the last 24 months. Hi, Julia. Thanks for coming.
Thanks. Thank you for having me. My name is Julia Golier. I am my main. I've been in the hemophilia community for forever. I'm the daughter of a hemophiliac, as well as a mother of a hemophiliac. That's Will over there, who could arguably be my proudest achievement of the last 24 months or 21 years, depending on how you look at it. I'm also a board member, and as well as a psychiatrist. And so Jeremy, unfortunately, Regina was supposed to be here today as well, but she's having some issues with her mother, so say a prayer for them. But all of us are pro camp. How can you not be pro summer camp, pro fun, pro independence for kids? But it's not an easy decision when your child has a bleeding disorder. It's not quite so simple, but we are blessed to live in an area with several camps. There's Hole in the Wall in Ashford, Connecticut, the Paul Newman camp. It is very well run, very well organized. When I was trying to talk my husband into going and explaining how safe it was to him, because he had a lot of anxieties, I went through their website. I think, if my memory serves, they literally have 2 helipads. I mean, it's like a clinic or a hospital in a camp-like environment. I'm like, honey, our son is safer there than he actually is in our own home. There's also Double H Camp, which is also part of the Serious Fun Network, and that's in Lake Luzerne, New York. They too have an incredible staff and support staff and medical staff. And there's also High Hopes, which is run by a lot of the Blood Brothers. They're their own unique group. Hope, everyone probably knows Hope and Joan McCarty, who are the key nurses there, and they've been running that in a dedicated fashion year after year after year. So there are several different camp options, but the first question you're probably asking yourselves is camp right for me, my kid, and when? And I would guess, Christina and Dawn, that these are questions that you're asking yourselves. And are there questions that you have or concerns that you have that we can help you with?
Definitely, I want
Oh,
this
look
to be
at that.
informal. So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
I
my
see a future
gosh.
camper there. How's the school bus?
I'm going to share my screen for a second, Julia, because I have some info about the camps that I want to share with folks. So I'll share that. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I have too many things open, but this will work, I think. Oops, sorry. Too many things open. And full screen.
Everyone has a favorite, I think. They're all great, but I think everyone, I don't think we can tell what our favorites are. But everyone has their favorite. Bill, I think Will is a Double H fan, big fan of Double H, not to choose favorites. The beauty, I mean, Double H, you can see they have week after week, and in the winter, they also have adaptive ski camp. And that is an amazing experience where your camper is assigned their own ski guide the entire weekend. Like, they're inseparable. So you learn to ski really quickly. And It's obviously very safe. Summer sports generally don't need to be adaptive, but there are multiple sessions at Double H, which is in this gorgeous area that we used to vacation at. Will or Mike, do you want to put in a good word for Double H?
Oh, well, I'd love to. It was just a good time, honestly. I don't have anything but fond memories at Double H. It feels like you're kind of at a hotel, essentially, for the entire week. There are all these resources, all these programs for you. You're just running through events every day of just fun stuff, arts and crafts, swimming, whatever. It's just such a good time. And then at the end, usually there's always this kind of heartwarming recap. You might cry, you might not. But it's just a really good time, and it's really nice just to meet other people, not only with other bleeding disorders, but other conditions as a whole, because it really widens your lens, because it can often feel, especially like with a rare blood disorder, it's just me, it's just me. Or especially if you're just interacting with New York City Hemophilia chapter, going to a camp where you meet people from all around the East Coast or all around the world, it really helps broaden your perspective on people and disorders as a whole, which was really nice.
I want to, I'm sorry to interrupt.
You're not interrupting. It's a community conversation.
So what the HTCs can offer transportation. So that's one of the best parts. Like you don't need to, if you want, of course you can do it, but the HTCs can figure out transportation. So we live in New Jersey, for example, and the HTC in New Jersey, you just need to get to the HTC and they are in charge of everything. So my son, same thing. He had so much fun. At the beginning, I thought it was just for kids with bleeding disorders, but no, there are like kids with so many other things. So I think it's great for them. It's like to being independent. I think it's pretty good.
So welcome, Caitlin, for joining. We are recording this tonight as a conversation, but it is an open conversation about camps. I want to ask Michael, how old were you when you first went to camp?
I believe it was 8 years ago, so 9 years old. So yeah, it was a great time for me. My parents finally trusted me to get out of the house by myself. So
that was a big hurdle for us. I mean, Julie, you said about your husband. Both me and Tina, obviously we were worried about him from the time we figured out he had hemophilia, but
I might give her Tylenol. I think hers is her.
Sorry, Caitlin, I think you accidentally unmuted, so I'm going to mute you, but definitely unmute if you want to ask a question. Go ahead, Michael.
Sorry. So seeing Hope Woodcock, nurse Hope, at all the functions, she would, she was so great with kids, and she would tell us, you got to come to camp, you got to come to camp. And the only regret we have is that we didn't send him earlier, because that first night we dropped him off and we stayed in a local hotel. We're like, he's going to he forgot about us, which was great because he wasn't worried. And when we picked him up, he's like, it's time to come home, and couldn't wait, 357 days until the next year. So it's been an awesome experience.
Yeah. So what was the final turning point that changed your mind?
Just getting to know Hope so well, and knew that, she was going to be there and take care of him, and,
personal connection and
that personal that trust. It's really trust, helipads and also are awesome and stuff. But
what camp was it that Michael you went to?
Camp High Hopes.
So Camp High Hopes is the one in our area that is exclusively for people with bleeding disorders, hemophilia, von Willebrands. They are also unique, and they have Camp Little Oaks, which I think they've combined now for girls with bleeding disorders or siblings. So it's very unique in that regard, that the nurses 100% do bleeding disorders. When William went, that was the first one he went to, I believe. And he had no particular plan to learn to infuse, but he was in middle school by that, and he came home proudly infusing. I was like, well, that was that was an extra bonus. But the trust is huge, and I was reviewing this with William and his father in the car today, and I was going through telling him how it's safer than anything. But I will confess what my husband's real concern was, which took me a long time to get it out of him. And again, he doesn't know these people. It's not like the Hope you know. And he was afraid that, the kids might get abused at camp. And, that's something you have to worry about, predators. And lo and behold, I scoured their website. And I think actually both Double H and Hole in the Wall have regulations that a child cannot be without two adults at the same time. And I think most of them. So if anyone else should that be in the back of anyone else's mind, as apparently it was, that was why the helipad didn't really answer his concern.
Well, so Michael's applying this year to be a counselor, to go back as a counselor, because he'll be 18 next month. And that's one of the things you got to do is get a background check, so yeah, it's a valid concern, but we felt very safe there.
Michael, this will be your first year as a counselor if you get in.
Yes, it will be.
Go ahead. What are you thinking about that?
It's just there's been like great people that have been my counselors throughout the years, and I just want to hope I can give the same experience that they gave to me to the new kids coming in.
And was that at High Hopes?
Yeah, high hopes.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting. Certainly I would love to hear from Michael or Will on this. A lot of the guys I've talked to, and girls too, the relationship they build with those counselors is lifelong. And sometimes, they're integral in them learning to infuse. Like you might remember that first person who helped you infuse, and then, your buddies forever. Any stories like that for you, Michael?
Yeah, one of my first counselors, Mike Graham, he's my counselor very young, and he's like been close ever since. So yeah.
Awesome. And Will, what about you?
Yeah, one counselor at Hole in the Wall, Mike Haydu, who's in the Boston area right by my school. We've still been chatting ever since, and we'll occasionally grab food together. And it was just it was during a hemophilia weekend at Hole in the Wall. It was also my birthday weekend, which was electric. But he was
Also your
just
twin sister's birthday, and that was a little less electric for her.
yes, unfortunately. But it was just his lifelong just mentor in the community, which has been really nice, and we still talk to this day.
And I think that's a very important part, as you say, Jeremy. It's the connection, first and foremost, with peers, but also with mentors and buddies of someone who can really kind of see you through. And the connections, they seem to form like almost immediately, with certain people. But for the younger kids, 7 or 8, maybe feel like 2. I'm not even sure what the age minimum is, but there are also family camps. You mentioned family camps. So there are other ways to become involved earlier if you or your child aren't, ready yet in terms of age or independence or concern about, going off for a week by yourself. So, Hole in the Wall has family camps. They have hemophilia family camps. They have, I think, just general illness family camps. NYCHC has a family camp. Double H has the ski weekend. I don't know if they may also have a family camp. So there are ways to get involved that don't necessarily start with you or dropping your kid off somewhere and just like saying goodbye. So that would be one way to kind of enter into the world.
One of the camps, I was just looking at, the age starts as early as 6, and the other one is 7. So there are people that are sending kids younger to it. And again, I do think that making a point, especially for, some families can be, you want to keep your kid in a bubble wrap. You want to keep, you want to have some oversight into where you're sending them. I have a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old without any medical conditions, and I still have not sent them away to sleepaway camp yet. So I totally get it. Those family weekends are really great. Mike, did you guys go on a family weekend ever to any of the camps?
No, but we did for a couple of years we did Get in the Game, which was a great experience. With the golf experience out in Arizona for like a long weekend. And they also had some an Olympic swimmer there one time, and that was a really great experience because it was all kids with hemophilia. If you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
What was it like for you, Mike, when your son was away for a week?
The first time we were worried, like, because you didn't hear from him. Hope was good about putting stuff on Facebook, and she'd post up pictures, and he'd like look through all the pictures and zoom him in. I'm like, I think that's wait, he's got a big red mark on his head, and you're like, I think he's all right, but like they were putting markers on their heads and stuff, but yeah, there was definitely a little anxiety, but Hope was really good about posting Facebook pictures, and if you really had to, you could call Hope and she'd be like, yes, your child is fine.
You're doing that and seeing them give my son a manicure. I was like, what is up with
Same.
what's up with that? Was there any relief in just having your kid away and being taken care of by someone else for a week?
Yeah, there's that part too, but not to delve into it, like my wife and I, split duties, like we give each other time, so it wasn't the first time we were kind of away with that, but I think the fact that he came out of there wanting to be at next year already, to go back again, that was the best thing that came out of it. What year did you meet Kyle?
Yeah, that was the first year.
That was the first year. I mean, that's one of his best friends. He's seen him for 8 weeks over the last 8 years, but like that's someone he keeps in contact with every day. So I mean, those are great things. And then learning to infuse, which was an amazing thing. Like I tried to teach him, but I couldn't teach him, and anyway, it's a lot of positives.
Caitlin or Christina, do you have questions that you'd like to ask either the moms or the parents?
First?
All right. Well, no.
I just want to ask,
if you're asking a question, you're on mute. Sorry, you can't unmute. I'm rocking a baby. Okay, that's fine, Caitlin. That's fine.
Nellie, did your son go to camp? Yeah.
Yes.
What was your experience like in making this decision, and what was it like for you?
The first one was Camp High Hopes, and same thing. Nellie was so worried that Nellie volunteered to be, of course, in the bus going there. It's like almost 7 hours driving, but it's like I don't know. I don't know if Mateo was like 9, something like that, and it was the first time. So Hope, of course, same thing. It's like, well, I just want to add, like, Camp High Hopes offer transportation from the city. So it's usually around, I don't know, like,
I think it was 100th Street up on Amsterdam.
Yes, last year, right? Yes,
Yep.
exactly. They changed location.
Sometimes it's Jeremy. Wasn't Jeremy the driver one year?
I have been the driver multiple years. It's been a while since I was the driver, but there were a few years that I was the driver, and then we had a bus one year when we had enough kids. It's been a variety of things. It's been a while since I drove though.
But yes, you're nervous. I was very, very nervous. I think I was calling Hope every day. One day it's like, I really need to talk to Mateo. And Hope, she was super nice. It's like, Mateo, your mom wants to talk to you. And Mateo was, of course, the typical boy. What mom? And just like for me, just listening the voice, I was like, that was enough. But yes, you are stressed. You are nervous. So many things. But he had awesome experience. Then he went to Double H Ranch. and he had like so much fun. He went last year, and he's looking forward to do this year again. So it's nice, very, very nice.
Did you get yourself any stress reduction from him being out of the house and knowing that he was in Hope's hands and Joan's? Or were you just worried the whole time? Or did you allow yourself to relax a little at that point?
No, the first year I was very, very stressed, really. But it's like, no, later on, of course, when Hope, of course, he was saying, Nelly, he's fine, he's fine. But yes, the first year I was very, very nervous. After I hear Mateo over the phone, it's like, Nelly, you can relax. But no, later on, it's like I was fine. I knew it that he was okay. And it's amazing. The experience is like Mateo doesn't infuse pretty frequently. It's a very nice experience for them just to see how the other kids are doing infusions. So it's more common for the rest. Like, it's fine. Everybody's fine. And it's like Hope is there and everybody's there checking on them. So
I mean, it's a big step in terms of independence, especially with our children who are subjected to our helicoptering, for better or worse. So, what was that like for you to be away and independent from your dear mother?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't used to it at all. I was very comfortable at home, and I did not want to go to summer camp initially. It took probably years of people at NYCHC events saying, "Hey, you should do this. Hey, you should do this," and I didn't really budge until I did, and I was very grateful for it. But in terms of independence, it was just interesting. I think definitely learning to infuse was huge. And now it's second nature to me, and I really appreciate that now being in college. But I think having that independence because it is your condition that you have to deal with and being able to entirely deal with it by yourself is very rewarding, just as a human growing and understanding and dealing with this condition.
How did it play out in London?
Fine. I was all good on infusing.
Carrying medication from place to place became the biggest issue. And I was very proud of William when he arrived, tired and exhausted, jet lagged, to his room that did not have the promised refrigerator. What did you do?
I got upset at their residential services, and so I got a new fridge in a few hours.
You advocated.
There you go. I didn't say I was upset. I would just convey that through advocating for myself.
And that was, partly camp, partly, Jeremy and Lindsay and all those trips to Albany days and really learning how to advocate for yourself and your needs. I mean, you needed a refrigerator. You don't want to be taking up all the refrigerator space. So that was huge. Another thing is, I mean, mostly also camp, they're just fun, but they also manage to work in support networks in terms of like the camp chats. And I don't know if either of you guys want to comment on that, the kind of, emotional support that is subtly built in, the psychological, it's kind of subtly built into the camp structure, the campfires. William? On you.
Yeah. I think just being with people going through similar stuff and then being at a campfire when you're all a little tired, but it's just you all and you're talking about your disorder, I think that is very rewarding in speaking out about stuff and people actually understanding what you're saying because it is a set of niche problems. And I think you slowly build up throughout the weeks, or not throughout the weeks, throughout the days, excuse me. And then at the end, usually there's some larger event where you probably get a little more vulnerable. And it's really nice to just build up trust with the people you are with and then eventually be able to say like, hey, this is happening to me and I'm frustrated with it. Are you guys experiencing this too? How have you done this? And that kind of stuff.
Were there ever any times at camp where you saw situations of people in medical distress?
Not for me.
Oh.
Yeah, there was at times when like someone like took a fall and they had to go to the nurse's office and just get treated up and stuff, but nothing too serious.
Yeah. So it mostly got handled on site and without too much. Yeah. Anytime there was the slightest incident, we got a phone call. They never, in our case, there was never a situation. Fortunately, there was never any serious situation, but any situation that did come up, we immediately got a phone call. Oh, in fact, I was mortified because every single time, I sent I would get on the intake, I would be informed that I had sent my son up with like expired inhalers, and they're like, these expired 2 years ago, and I'd be mortified. I have to like update them at a local CVS. So they were even more on top. It wasn't really 2 years, but they were expired. So I mean, they're just so conscientious. Or if there's the slightest bit of symptoms, we got a phone call. But as Will was mentioning, I mean, it not necessarily at High Hopes, but at Hole in the Wall, I mean, you're, at camp with kids on chemo, depending on what camp you're at, at camp with children in wheelchair or who have lost limbs. And, you see pictures of the kids supporting each other and learning, what other people are going through. And, so it's pretty sobering, experience.
One thing that also is good about a lot of these camps, and there's graduated experiences as you grow older. There's higher level experiences you can get, and as Michael was mentioning, at some point you can build up to be a counselor, which is pretty awesome. And for you guys that are considering counselors, or if you're thinking about a kid going through it, there's a network of camps all across the nation that are set up for bleeding disorders. So you can do exchanges. So at some point, like Michigan has a great camp. They're always looking for counselors out there. So you could go, oh, look, I've been a bleeding disorders camp counselor here. I can go do this Michigan thing. Yeti is another camp that they do for kids with bleeding disorders out in Oregon. So in some ways you can travel with it too, which is interesting. Locally, after folks do their kids camp, there are teen camps that we have a teen weekend that we do called Torch Teen Retreat. That's later on, at that point you probably sent your kid to camp, but even after they get through that, there's opportunities for being a counselor there. So for the two teens or adults at this point, if you want to come back and be a counselor there at our Torch Teen Retreat, it's August 1st through the 3rd. So mark your calendars, let me know. And it's in the Poconos be a fun thing. I know Will went there back when he was much younger. So
I believe Regina couldn't be here, but I think Mateo's going to Ireland to be a camp counselor this summer.
Yep.
So it's kind of awesome. Yeah, the Paul Newman networks are really international at this, and have been for some time. So yeah, and they also graduate up into Hero's Journey. Unfortunately for William, that occurred during COVID, so he never he didn't get to go. But there was yeah, they continue to have sort of age appropriate transitional. In fact, this weekend there's one for young adults at Hole in the Wall. I didn't bother letting you know, William, because I figured you probably weren't. So they continue up through the ages.
So Caitlin asked a question in the chat, and I just want to make sure it gets put in here. Did anyone do family camp? And if so, what age did you start family camp? Did you go on one of those family weekends? They have a hemophilia a boy and a girl.
I did it. And it was a very nice experience. Just before sending Mateo, we did it as a family, and it's very nice. Of course, it was before COVID, because I don't know if they have changed how it's like if you need to, look for your hotel. I don't really know how the family camps are working on these days, but before they have like you can stay with them, and it's a very, very nice experience.
So we did family camp, but we did it after William had already gone as a camper. But we did it one November, as William said, it was his birthday. What birthday was it? Was it your 11th or 13th or
Something around there.
something?
Yeah.
Oh, what happens when you celebrate your birthday at Hole in the Wall?
They have a big birthday chair, and you're in the big dining room, and then they'll like you sit in the chair and they drive you around, which was a great time. And
Good
everyone
for
will sing
him.
with you.
Not so much for his twin sister, whose birthday it also was.
Okay, right.
But that was really a fun experience. In that case, we did stay. The whole family was put up in the camp at Hole in the Wall, which was kind of like a little hotel, and we stayed together. And each of us got our own like buddy. William got a buddy. His sister got a buddy. I think Bill and I each got like a family. Like we were all treated like patients and VIPs. The other family ones we did was the adaptive ski weekends at Double H. The whole family went up and we would stay in a room together and eat together. So those are our family experiences. But they did supply the accommodations.
Mike, did you guys do a family weekend or no?
Just the 2 or 3 years of Get in the Game. It was kind of like a family weekend, it was like one parent and one kid. And if you're not familiar with Get in the Game, it's centered around sports or golf. They pick golf or baseball, and you're there for a weekend, and like golf pros and baseball professionals run you through like a practice and a game. You actually go out on a 9-hole course and play. And then there's tons of activities around that, like a pool session, and then there's some counseling sessions, and then a big dinner when they call out all the different chapters that visit and stuff, and call everyone up. And it was a great experience, very luxury hotel in the middle of Arizona, so a lot of fun. You remember that?
Any other questions from Caitlin or Christina that we could answer tonight?
No, we kind of went over everything, I just wanted to hear, people's experience. And then I remember Michael saying he went to camp at 9, but he wished it started sooner. So my son is 7, by the time camp comes around, he's like 7.5. And I don't know, I'm a little nervous about it, but I really want to give it a go, probably this summer, if not, definitely next summer.
That gets to practical things. So unlike other camps where you can just, send a credit card or whatever, the medical information processing piece can take a while, and we haven't done it. Now, the HTCs are very used to this, but you do have to provide very detailed camper information and medication and a recent physical. And so it's something you want to try to, in the hemophilia world, everyone always tries to make it work all the time, but the best thing is to give yourself plenty of time to get the right forms from the pediatrician, just to make sure you have everything you need. I think High Hopes for a while used to make you have it notarized. I think that you would come get your kid if they were acting out.
I actually had reached out to a Hole in the Wall game camp, I think that one, and I have all the forms already, and we have our HTC appointment at the end of the month, but I couldn't find links to like Camp High Hopes or anything anywhere, so I wasn't able to reach out. I'm hoping I could before our appointment, just so in the event I do decide to go for it, like we're well prepared.
Yeah, and you can do both. Because
I think that well, every year we've gotten the forms off Facebook actually for High Hopes. That's how they like to communicate, and then eventually it would come through email. But just so you're kind of familiar with the High Hopes format, There's a cabin for like each age group. So like, right, buddy, like the 7-year-olds are all in one cabin, and I think they have the highest counselor to like kid ratio. And then there's like the 8-year-old cabin and the 9-year-old cabin, right? Kind of. So yeah, but I think they've done most through Facebook, and the application usually comes out right about in the next month or so.
Right.
And
I'm
we
gonna
can
share
help you
that
get,
link with
they
you.
don't have the same online presence because they exist. There are people from the bleeding disorder that exist, their camp exists for 1 week a year, whereas the other are these, larger camps that have ongoing sessions. So it's a little
Oh,
hard to get information, but we'll be able to help you get that information. Oh, it looks like someone just
I just put it in there. Yeah.
Graham, yeah.
And I'll email the other stuff so you can have it. I'm trying to pull it up right now just to make sure, but I'll email that
Okay,
whole
thank you.
flyer.
William or Michael, any packing tips for Christina? Things you must have or shouldn't bring or wish you brought along on any of your trips?
Well, there was always a list of all like the essential stuff, but it was always fun to bring like little board games to play in the cabin during free time, and yeah, stuff like that.
Definitely a bathing suit, which is on the packing list, but there is the occasional water sport that you would like to be a part of, that I wanted to at least. But otherwise, yeah, games. Board games are huge at summer camp, which I love. A pack of cards will get you far.
I feel like
And I like the fact that they took away all electronics. There's no electronics at all. So there's a week of just
That's
diverging.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the same now as it was back when I would go to camp, but I feel like the snack game was something that the best people would have, like rockin' snacks. Was that part of it back then too, Michael?
Yeah, yeah. Especially if the counselors bring a few in too. So
Contraband.
That's the way you kind of
Contraband.
I got
I'll
the
trade you some
sour
Snickers.
Twizzlers here or whatever,
Mateo was like kind of chilly, so it's like mom didn't pack a blanket, so I said it's summer, just like your sheets and a sleeping bag, and Mateo was like, I was cold, mom. So it could be a little bit chilly upstate New York. So
It's up there. Yeah. It's been
I
in the
know.
40s in like August. Yeah.
I know, yes, and sometimes it's like raining, so probably like an extra blanket. Mateo was like, yes, mom, please, for the next time. So yes.
Well, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you guys taking the time tonight. Julie, I don't know if there was anything else that you wanted to share or any of the rest of the crew.
I think, let me just check my notes to make sure there's nothing I missed. I refrained from slides. I made the slides, Jeremy, but I refrained from sending them. Just
How
double
is the
check that
computer
it-
knowing where you are? What kind of magic voodoo is that? I don't understand. Is someone working your computer? Is that just doing it?
I think it's just doing it. It's got a little magic in there.
It does. It kind of is freaking me out a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I'm glad you didn't do slides. I think just a conversation is perfect. Will, while your mom's looking for that stuff, like, is there a big like 1 or 2 sentence takeaway of what you would say to a kid? Because you specifically mentioned that you didn't want to go. What would you say to a kid that sits there and goes, I don't know if I want to do that?
Well, now looking back, I wish I went sooner, but you can only kind of realize that now. I think it's 1 week out of a summer, just give it a shot. Because it is such an incredible experience, and it is only a week out of at least 8, maybe more, that so many people praise, especially in the bleeding disorders community and just general disease community as a whole. So I would just give it 7 days, and if you don't like it, you don't have to do it again. But odds are you're gonna love it.
Yeah, I think the final takeaways, it's just a great, I mean, we've discussed, anxiety and separation and independence, but at the end of the day, it's just a great time and it's life-changing. And yeah, I don't think we've ever heard anyone come back with anything other than positive experiences from camp. So I agree. Let yourself go, and with 24/7 contact, there's such dedicated medical professionals that I think we're lucky that there are these dedicated camp staff that really look after you, and so
That's great. So Michael, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to put you on the spot for a second. Some of the best things that happen at camp are the things that are unintended. Maybe it wasn't planned, but it ends up being a gem of a memory for you. Are there any moments like that out of your time at camp that like stand out as like, oh my gosh, that's something that I will treasure?
Every year there's some pranking that goes along. When you're not in your cabin, someone else might sneak in, might toilet paper the place, but cleaning, everyone gets together and cleans it back up though, which is fun. And it just builds community and friendship between cabins, and yeah, it's just a great time.
That's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming tonight. I super appreciate it. Any of the folks that don't know, our organization, the New York City Hemophilia chapter, started as a walk because there was a mom of one of these kids that had sat around her table and was like, oh, I don't know anyone with hemophilia. And it was created to build community and improve health outcomes. But the first event they did was a big walk in Riverside Park. And that was all about like getting people together to know each other. So the whole organization has been built around that. That walk ended up growing into a nationwide thing. It's been happening all across the nation in multiple states at this point, and it has a long history. I am thrilled to announce that this year is our 20th walk. So some of these people have been coming to this walk for many years. So if you're watching this at home or you're here on here, know that you're a part of something that's special. Know that you're a part of something that has been building community for a long time, not just here in New York, but has made a lasting impact for the whole country. And I hope you will come out on June 1st to our walk because it's going to be really special this year. And we're trying to get all of the old crew, new crew. We were just talking this morning about the 20-somethings. I want you guys to be wearing a sash saying we were first kids, something like that. You can lead the walk. But I just welcome everybody and thank you guys for coming on today to talk about camps.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank
the
you,
walk
everyone.
has that summer camp energy.
It has a similar thing, I think, and I think some people come to that and then they consider camp later, and some people went to camp with people that are there. I've seen pictures of happening like that. So yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you. Thanks for everything.
See you, Nelly.
Thank you.
Nice seeing you. Bye-bye.
Take care.